Odell's drama yesterday. Big deal or no big deal?
It's a big deal. And, like they're not telling you the whole story there, obviously, about what happened. It's a big deal for a couple reasons. Number one, because Odell had problems in New York and now is showing that he's having problems in Cleveland, and that doesn't look good for him. Although I don't even think that's the biggest deal. The biggest deal is whatever you want to say about Odell. You know how I say when Baker Mayfield is in trouble is if he loses Odell? Because Odell, you look at Baker, and I thought going into this year, that dude's a baller. I thought it coming out of college. I thought it going into his second season in the league. He's a baller. And that's why it's going to be okay. Because he has ballers all around him. And even if Odell's not getting the ball a lot, that means he's double covered. Someone else is open. Baker will find him. That means you're handing the ball to one of your elite running backs, Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. That, as long as that's happening, I think Odell is fine. The problem is this. If Odell's not getting the ball thrown his way because he's double covered or whatever, and you think it's now those resources are gone from another place, so let's exploit the weakness, but you can't get it done, now you have a problem with Odell because what he's saying is you're not a baller. And I think that's a huge issue for Baker Mayfield, but also for the coach. We saw Jarvis Landry have an issue with coach recently, and now we saw Odell have an issue with coach. And that means they're talking to each other, and they're boys from college. They're not happy with coach. That's how it reads. It looks to me like Kitchens has lost the team. I could be told I'm wrong. That's the outward impression. And I think for that reason, it's a big deal.
It's not a big deal at all as it pertains to Odell Beckham Jr., precisely because of the nuggets of information that you just gave out that I think supports Odell Beckham Jr. Number one, Freddie Kitchens is in over his head. Everybody and their grandmother knows it. He needs to be gone as head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I feel sad in saying this because I think that he did a good job as an offensive coordinator. I think he did a good job as a positional coach. I think he belongs in football. I just don't believe he deserves to be in this leadership position, being a leader of men, because he's just too young at it. How many people go from being a positional coach to an offensive coordinator to the head coach inside of 8 months? Who does that? That doesn't happen in the NFL, but it happened for him, and it was a huge mistake on the part of John Dorsey. Point number two. Baker Mayfield is the reason he's the head coach, because this first-year quarterback at the time that had a few good games once Hugh Jackson was fired said, I like this guy. And John Dorsey and the Cleveland Browns wanted to appease Baker Mayfield, their first overall pick in the NFL draft. And what does that amount to? That's a disaster. Missed 18 interceptions, just 19 touchdowns, completing 60% of his passes. Don't get me started with him. He ain't ready yet either. Then we get to Jarvis Landry. Why is Jarvis Landry such a big deal in all of this? Ladies and gentlemen, not only is Jarvis Landry a damn good receiver, he's a classy dude. He never gets associated with this kind of stuff. The fact that he himself is just a couple of weeks removed from having an issue with something on the field with Freddie Kitchens, to me, somewhat insulates Odell Beckham Jr. because you look at the Cleveland Browns and you see the absolute mess that they are, that it sort of dissipates the momentum that would be aimed in Odell Beckham Jr.'s direction. And then we get to the Giants, and we see what the Giants have looked like this year. We also hear Max and Molly complaining about those New York Giants. Yes. We also have Max Kellerman on national television saying, what the hell you give up Odell Beckham Jr. for? Him with Saquon Barkley. We don't want to hear anything about a problem. Did he break any laws? Did he get in trouble with the police officers or anything like that? No, he might have been a bit temperamental on the sideline from time to time. That's what Tylenol and ibuprofen and Advil and all of that is for. Get the hell over it. Why? Because this brother is an elite talent. And especially when you're looking at a Giants organization, which, by the way, never knew championships until LT came along. Now, we're not comparing the talent as great as Odell Beckham Jr. is as a talent. We ain't comparing nobody to LT. What we're saying is, what were you willing to tolerate? Because he was LT. We all know the kind of stuff that LT got into. The Giants organization didn't care about it then. So this very organization that prides itself on being some gold standard, and we got to act all properly and do things the right way. You didn't capture Super Bowls that way. These are all the things that we're talking about. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. looks bad in all of this at all. I think this is an indictment against Freddie Kitchens, which is why he will be gone.
I think it's a big deal for that reason. But for Odell, who came into the league as, for his first 3 years, let's say, until he got hurt, I was looking and going, that's the most talented wideout who ever lived. I know there are guys, what about Randy Moss? I thought Odell was also probably the best athlete in the world, like either him or LeBron James. You know, and for him to have a season like the one he just had, and now he's away from the Giants and he's with a quarterback who's supposed to be better, that is an issue for the way he is perceived. I get that. And the larger thing is, how do you know that Freddie Kitchens has lost him, right? Or that maybe even Baker has? Just put yourself in Odell's position. Like, you didn't get the ball at all this year. They just didn't look your way. And your team was losing.
Yeah, well, we had
And
reports that they were
good.
like whispering, remember, to Jimmy Garoppolo, come get me, that kind of thing. Reports.
You imagine
not
Odell
fact.
on the Niners?
Which is why it's not a big deal. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.